Welcome to the She Slays the Day podcast with Dr. Lauryn Brunslick. Direct, soulful, comedic, advice for female chiropractors' most stagnating questions. Let's talk business, marriage and relationships, momming, and self-development. Here's your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunslick.
Hey everyone, this is Lauryn Brunslick, your host of the She Slays the Day podcast, and I am, as usual, pretty damn excited to be sitting at this mic. Okay, so I feel like sometimes this mic is like a confessional for all you Catholics out there, where I get to just tell you really dumb, embarrassing stuff that I wouldn't admit to someone else's face, but because nobody else is looking at me and I'm just talking to a microphone, it's somehow less embarrassing and I get the shame off me. Okay, so this morning I spent, no less than 20 minutes down the wormhole trying to figure out what the heck is going on with Meghan and Harry. Okay, so I'm recording the intro for this episode just a couple days before it drops. And this week, they've left the royal family? If you don't know, I don't know why you follow this show if you don't follow Meghan and Harry also. Okay, that's not the embarrassing part that I spent 20 minutes on that, because what is embarrassing is that after that, I caught up on the royal gossip. I learned that apparently we're potentially going to war with Iran. Now, did I at this point spend 20 minutes down the wormhole trying to figure out and understand more? No, I didn't. I just walked around like, what? And I waited for Kirby to wake up and I'm like, what is going on? So yeah, that's my dumb, you're very silly, fearless leader over here has really dumb priorities in what I choose as newsworthy. So there, I admitted it, it's gone. I can be forgiven. Okay, and I still don't know what's going on with Iran, but I'll do that after I record this. Okay, so another thing I'm embarrassed about is that I could talk about today's topic for hours. It's the app we all love to hate, Instagram. So I'm interviewing Dr. Rebecca Rizk today, and she's probably better known as her Insta handle at the Chiropractic Guru. And we're actually answering, instead of one question, we're answering multiple different questions from both of our audiences on Instagram. We both met on, you guessed it, Instagram. And I just really liked her aesthetic. Her photos are pretty, her feed, her bio is great. And you can tell she really knows what she's doing. So I reached out and I was like, do you want to come to my birthday party? Which is code for, do you want to be on my podcast? So a couple months ago, we put out there, what do you guys want to know? And we got a lot of questions covering from just novice. Wait a minute. Is novice an expert or an amateur? I think it's an amateur. I don't know. From amateur to expert, we'll say that. What is novice? Okay, so we got questions are all over the place. So just like me, this episode we're covering a lot of different ground, and some of it might be over your head, and you're like, I don't know what they're talking about. That's okay. You don't need to. And some of it you might consider preschool material for some of the more people who are just getting started. I think that the person who's going to get the most is that middle of the road Instagrammer who has an account, a personal account, a business account. They know how to post, but is looking to up their game. I'm actually pretty harsh. I lay into people in their business Instagram accounts pretty harshly on here. So I apologize. I was getting heated, but I think I say something. So anyway, so we drop a lot of resources and apps too in this. So this might be one of those episodes where you want to check out the show notes on our website. Just saying. So go check out the show notes at sheslayspodcast.com. And while you're there, you know what? You might as well just get on our weekly slay list, because those cute little inspirational emails are going out every Sunday, just to kind of jazz you up, make you laugh, realize life is not to be taken too seriously, and to think bigger and believe in yourself. So you'll like them, I promise. So before we dive in, we are going to do a listener spotlight, because if you're going to take the time to write something, I'm going to take the time to read it out loud. So this comes from Dr. Rebecca Oh, weird. It's the same name. I didn't even realize that when I was setting that up. Okay, so this is not the Dr. Rebecca that I'm interviewing. This is a different Dr. Rebecca. So she actually sent me an email that was really good, and it was long and personal, so I'm not going to share that. But she just talked about how rough 2019 has been and how God has been so impactful in her survival in this year, and she included this little review that I will read. So she said, "Thank you for being honest and being real. I love your podcast, and it makes me smile every time I listen. Plus, I learned something too. Dr. Rebecca, warrior in training." And I think that is the coolest way to sign off an email, talk about a mic drop. And I told her, just drop that in training. Just keep warrior. So thank you for that, Dr. Rebecca. I can't tell you how much your entire email meant to me. What's really funny is I throw away cards fast, really, really fast. Anybody listening who's sent me a card before, I appreciate it. Don't worry. I liked it. But there's something where I pull it out of my mailbox and I open and I just start walking towards the garbage can and I read it and then I toss that. But emails I keep, and I guess that's obvious. It's a card is clutter and what am I going to do with it? I suppose I could put it in a drawer. Except Kirby keeps all of his cards and it drives me nuts. Every time I'm over in his office, I just want to he's got cards that I gave him for Valentine's Day or Father's Day from 3 years ago. And I just want to be just throw that shit away. Anyways, can you tell that affirmations is not my love language? But Dr. Rebecca, that was a weird way to end a segment on how much I appreciate your guys' reviews, because I swear I do. Just put them in virtual writing. Okay, so I want to make sure before we get started that I give a huge shout out to one of my friends and personal favorite workout and mindset coach, Megan Sanvey. So depending on when you're listening to this, you may or may not have an opportunity to jump on board with her new program, Muscles and Mindset. So it's launching this week, the week of January 13th. So check it out quickly and reach out to her to see if it's too late to join, because it's an amazing opportunity. So this is an 8-week program where you're going to get customized nutrition plan tailored specifically for you, your macros. Your nutrition will be reviewed weekly and adjusted as needed. You're going to get customized monthly workout plans that work with your schedule and how much time you have availability and what you're able to do. And then weekly video check-ins where you're going to discuss goals, progress, and address any struggles or concerns you have. And then mindset hacks that are going to help you overcome your fear of food and struggles with exercise. And lastly, accountability is the big thing that you get with this, because so many of us, how many of us are yeah, I'm going to get strong in 2020 and I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to do this, but we're not accountable to anyone. So how successful are we half the time? Not so much. So if you're interested, like I said, you're going to want to check it out quickly because it launches this week. Go to fitandfierce.co/work with me. And we will have that in the show notes also. And make sure you mention She Slays the Day podcast and you're going to get yourself $100 off the entire program. So woo woo. Whew. Okay, we're going to calm the F down now and center ourselves in prayer. God, shit. Sometimes I am really embarrassed of my love and relationship with social media. But I believe Jesus would totally have an Instagram account. It's a great tool to spread message across nations. I think he would have just killer photos. But I know that he would separate from the attachment and subconscious worshiping that we do to that in that feedback. So remind us to take all the advice today with a grain of salt, and that there are times to hustle and there are times to rest, and not all are called to impact the world through this little, very meaningless app. Keep anyone listening from seeing their worth in numbers and likes. It's easy to get caught up in, and I believe you're like a very patient father, just watching from the sidelines, watching us indulge and make stupid decisions and spend our time on things that don't matter in our purpose. And at the end of the day, you're just like, did it fulfill you? Do you feel good? Okay, come home to me now. So we love you. Thank you so much for your grace and your forgiveness. And I'm thankful for conversations like this today, for sure. But even more thankful for you being my number one follower. Woo, love you, God. All right. So with that, we are going to jump right in to my interview with Dr. Rebecca, the chiropractic guru. And we are talking Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for joining the She Says the Day podcast. We have Dr. Rebecca Hopkins on today, woo-woo, otherwise known as the chiropractic guru on social media. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rebecca.
For having me. It's such an honor. I absolutely love your podcast. And I listen on my way to work almost every week.
Oh, that is awesome. So I have you on to talk about one of my favorite topics. I hate to admit it that I am totally this vain, but I love Instagram. I really do. I love to hate it. And so I was like, when we had the suggestion for people to like bring it up, I was like, I would like to have her on to talk about it because you have a great Instagram account.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I have really great followers that are super interactive and super supportive, so it makes it super easy.
Oh, yeah. Sure. We will get to that because that makes a difference, is interaction. Okay, so listeners, normally you are used to us having like one overarching question from somebody. Today, I don't know, because I don't think I'm just going to call it what it is. Mark Zuckerberg is not listening to this podcast, so I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. It's mostly love, but I think because Instagram is so vain, you can't really get like deep and talk for 45 minutes about one question. So we're going to do more of like a rapid fire style of questions. Do you have the questions that you got from your listeners?
I do. Yes, okay, I do.
Cool. Okay. So before we jump straight in, will you please just give us a little bit of a background on you?
Of course. So I am actually Canadian. A lot of people don't know this. I moved from Canada about a year and a half ago, so July of 2018. So I graduated from the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College back in 2018 and was just obviously super excited about graduating. Fresh, new doctor. Did I know what I wanted to do? Not really. But I ended up meeting my husband now in Canada while I was in school, actually in my second year. And we got engaged, married, and actually he surprised. I had a graduation trip after graduation in Texas, where he's from. And he had a surprise proposal and just kind of decided from there that we were just going to stay in the States. Super excited about being here. I'm currently in Dallas, working in Flower Mound.
Okay.
So familiar with the area. And yeah, so I started my journey here in the States and super excited about it. It's been great so far and just loving it.
So first of all, yeah, the state, from what I understand, practicing in the States is way better than Canada. Sorry to all my Canadian listeners, but like you guys, most of they're okay, hold on. They're not states. What are they? What are they called? Provinces. Yes, provinces. Some of them are just like super, I swear to God, they hate chiropractic, at least pediatric chiropractic. So you picked a good choice. I'm sure there are some provinces up there that are great, but Texas, I like Texas. That's a huge temperature change.
It definitely is. I think it was a good change for me, at least. I love the sun. I love to be in the sun and just soak it all in. I mean, when you live in Canada, and especially I'm from Ottawa, and I went to school in Toronto, kind of similar weather, but not really. Ottawa is really brutal with the snow. It does snow a lot. We get a lot of inches. So just living there and growing up there, and you just never get used to it. It's just it never becomes easy. It never becomes like a way of life. It just becomes even more depressing and just heavy every single year. So
I'm from Wisconsin, like North Wisconsin. And this year, so if I look back the last 12 months, so it's November when we're recording, and I look back to the previous November, we had 8 months of basically winter. And like, And like one of those months you might be able to like call kind of spring and one you might be able to call kind of fall. But yeah, I'm like, maybe I'll move down and work for you. So are you an associate or do you own your own clinic?
I'm actually an associate.
Okay.
So working at Epic Healthcare in Flower Mound, for those of you who know it or who don't know it. Super great concept. It's a holistic medical clinic actually. And I'm one, 4 chiropractors.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And did you know, so what is a holistic medical clinic?
So we are very different. I know that in Canada, they do this a lot where it's multidisciplinary practices and clinics that have a bunch of different providers under one roof, treating patients. Here, I don't see that often. I didn't really see that often, just being out here and seeing the different chiropractors. But that's what we do. So we're a multidisciplinary practice. We have a PA on staff. We also have medical massage therapists on staff. We do a lot of regenerative medicine as well. And obviously our chiropractic care, rehabilitation, physical therapy, you name it. We pretty much have it all. And we kind of just tailor our treatments to whatever patients need.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So then let's jump in because the next question I was going to ask was kind of related to Instagram anyway. So when did you, because you got married in October of 2018, right? So when did you start? So you don't run the business account side of it, right? You have your personal Instagram, but like you're not running Epic's Instagram.
So I do run Epic's Instagram.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Started off with Epic, they did not have an Instagram. They did, but it wasn't very active and they weren't using it much. So I kind of took it over and started kind of working on it and increasing the followers. And so I guess you can say that, I have. Okay,
awesome. So that will definitely really help when we're going through some of those because you not only have like the personal, but also the small business aspect or the clinic side because most people tend to have multiple accounts where it's like, all right, I have my private one that's kind of this like public persona, but then I also have like the actual brick and mortar clinic one. So you'll be able to look at the questions from both sides. Okay. So why don't we start with some of the questions that you got on yours, and then we can kind of go from the questions I have.
So one of the most common questions I got was, what is my favorite editing app?
Yep, that's one of the ones I have too. So like, what are your favorite Insta apps that you use?
Which it's a great question because it's just such a useful tool. It makes things easy. It makes things unison and just look pretty and aesthetic. So 2 of my favorite editing apps that I think I use, I do use for all of my pictures. I got specifically what do you use for pictures and then what do you use for your stories.
Okay.
So pictures and editing and just making it look really pretty and good lighting and just look flawless, if you want to say that, is the app Lightroom.
Yep.
Which
what are your presets that you...
Exactly. So I'll definitely, I actually go on Etsy and I actually buy presets. So I think they're super cheap. They're like $5 for, I think, like 10 of them.
Oh, seriously? I paid $20. Where did I get Lightnary? Did I buy it straight through Lightroom, I wonder? But yeah, the presets I bought were like $20.
Were they? Yeah. So I guess I saw it with other followers who had do the same thing. And one time I was just on my stories and they were like, oh, there's this deal on Etsy. So I went and checked it out and super cool. Like you can select any kind of style or whatever your vibe is. You can just select and that's typically what I do. Honestly, it takes 2 seconds. I just put it on the photo and it just looks like I want it to and brand new. So.
Now we kind of I said we were going to jump in, but we jumped like way right in with a question that is about like presets. So let's answer a question right now of like, how much work do you put into the aesthetic of your grid? And then we can come back to like the story thing, but we kind of have to like start with the people who are like, wait, what are you even talking about as far as like
presets and Lightroom and at using apps. So kind of give like a summary of like how much thought you put into like the aesthetic of stuff.
So at the beginning, I didn't have much of a pattern when I first started my page. I started at 0.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was just I knew what my goal was, my vision was. I wanted to build a professional doctor page. That was one of my top priorities. And I just didn't know. I knew I wanted to educate. I didn't know how. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of testing the waters, doing what I felt was right. And then as I was going along, it just kind of got easier. And I kind of was like, you know what, let me pick, because people like to know, like to expect things. So if you're doing a page, like building an Instagram page is super important to have a pattern in what you do. And people want to know, okay, well, I know Dr. Hopkins posts this, this, and this, and that's why I'm going to go visit her page. So if you're all over the map, it makes it really difficult and confusing for followers to kind of really, truly follow you and be into it and be a page that they're going to almost every single day for a specific thing. So I just knew I wanted to educate.
Yeah, when you say pattern, because there's kind of two patterns that I hear. So like there's the pattern of like your buckets. I've kind of heard them talk about like what are your 5 things that you'll post about. So for instance, like our chiropractic clinic would be like babies getting adjusted, pregnant women getting adjusted, nutrition, and I don't know what the other 2 would be, but like, so like that would be our pattern. So I wouldn't come out of left field and for my clinic post like some sports rehab thing, because all of our people would be like, what? I thought you were like a pediatric and prenatal. And then like personally, I like just Lauryn Brunslick, I like to post about plants. I'm obsessed with plants. I like to post about running. I like pizza, traveling, but like, I'm trying to think like, I don't know what I would come out of left field, but like, I kind of even have those buckets or categories that people would expect. And they wouldn't be like, why is Lauryn trying to sell me Rodan and Fields or something like that? I guess that would be so there's that pattern of like, what are your buckets that you traditionally will post on, like subjects, but then there's also the like photo, comment, like photo, comment, photo, like that type of thing. So which one are you kind of both, right?
Well, essentially both. I kind of was just like, you know what, I want to do quotes where I can quotes are really cool to me. Like when I go to people's pages, I'm like, it's just so refreshing. It's easy to look at. It's just, I like them. So I was like, you know what, I want to incorporate that into my page. So I decided to do, a whole row of just comments. And those typically are mostly chiropractic related.
Okay.
I use the quotes as an outlet for chiropractic. Then I kind of bring in my other photos where I like to motivate and I also like to educate. So sometimes I'll have a caption where I'm motivating, and then other times I'll have a caption where I'm actually educating on something, either chiropractic, health, wellness, nutrition, gut health, things like that.
Okay. Got it. And again, like do you go to by Rebecca or Becky, or is it Rebecca?
Call me Rebecca.
Yeah. Okay. Because I didn't want to go spend this whole hour and like, you're like, actually, most people just call me this. Okay. So what I think everyone's going to have to kind of do is they're going to have to use a little bit of discernment while they're listening to this episode, because you and I would say, I hate the word evolve, because that implies like any kind of higher whatever. But I think that we were interested enough that we took Instagram to kind of that next level where you are doing this design. And if you are listening to this just going like, I have a business page that currently has 57 followers and I'd like to figure out how to get more, like if you're listening, you're just going to have to kind of go like, oh, that sounds like a next level Instagram. And this sounds like an intro thing. So just listeners, use discernment. And if it sounds like I have no idea what they're talking about, don't worry about that. Like in the beginning, start with like some Like, I want to motivate. I like what you said, like to motivate. I want to educate. I want to, maybe shed light on something, but like pick those and then pick your topics and just post pictures. Don't worry about like what your grid looks like, as long as they're pretty pictures.
I really didn't worry about that because I didn't know better.
Yep.
I just stuck to the things that I knew, and I picked 3 things, and I would just keep posting, every week on those things, and I would just alternate until you get into a rhythm. You kind of figure out, okay, what's working, what's not working, what people are liking, what they're not liking, what's attracting more traction, I guess, and what's getting you the likes. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the detailing and all that stuff. I would just focus on, okay, what do I want to portray? What do I want to educate people on, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to your favorite apps, because all we got to was Lightroom. Sorry.
Sidetracked. So another favorite app of mine is the Mojo app. So Mojo. And that's the one that I use actually for my quotes on my page. So I don't know if you noticed, but it kind of like, I don't even know how to call it, but it's like a video and the letters just go across, kind of like someone's typing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep.
So that's what I use for that. And then I also use Canva for my stories.
Oh yeah.
So Canva, I'm sure you're familiar, Dr. Lauryn, with it, but it's super easy to use. You just have to insert things and the template's already there, and you could just post it on your story. It has like the settings already made for the stories, photos, whatever it is, invites, all this stuff. So it's super cool, super easy, and it doesn't take much time at all.
Yep. And you probably use some kind of website that you insert content that doesn't make you put the periods in between paragraphs on Insta.
I have not used that, but tell me.
So, okay. So I'm going to have to include the link in the show notes. But like, oh yeah, you use periods. Woohoo, here I am. Okay. So this really upsets me that Instagram, again, Mark Zuckerberg, if he listens to this, he's going to like kick me off his platforms because he's going to be like, oh, you think you can do it better? Anyways, I know they have the technology and it's not doing, like, I don't see the benefit of it. But when you press, like if you're going to write a 3-paragraph content for a photo, and I'm explaining to them, not you. So when you were going to press enter on Facebook, you can just press enter and it like doesn't do anything funky. It gives you that space and that nice. But in Instagram, if you want it to be laid out where it's like paragraph, space, paragraph, you have to put like a period. But there are certain links, like websites that have created, I don't know what they've done on the black market behind the scenes, where you'd copy that and paste it into and press convert, and then you'd copy it back into Instagram, and you don't have to do the period thing. So I will make sure that is released in somewhere. Like DM me, but I'll put it on here somewhere, because Christy Wick, who's a chiropractor in Wisconsin that I love, she's the one who's like, here, just in case you don't want to use that. I'm like, that's awesome. So that's the one I use too.
That's awesome, because I struggle with that, to be honest.
It's
That's
annoying.
what takes a lot of the time to post a picture, is actually the caption and how to figure out how to like make everything seamless and look good.
Look normal. Yeah.
Yeah, look normal. And then it's not until I post it and then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all one paragraph. And that's
but then you have to go back in and edit it and like, yeah. So, okay. Excellent. And Canva, holy cow, you're not using Canva just in your business. That's, I think everybody hopefully is, but all you have to do is type in Insta story and it will give you all these templates and they're great. Super great. Okay. Any other apps that you use?
I think that's it, actually.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So do you schedule yours out at all? Because I know there are quite a few scheduling apps too, for people, so you're not like sitting and like posting it in the moment. Like in an ideal world, if you have I have not gotten to this point yet. Like when I click enter, I just spent the last 30 minutes getting a photo, making the content and things like that, and just press enter when it pops up. But like good people who are good at time management, not Lauryn, they will spend, they'll call it batch working, and they'll spend like, I don't know, one morning a month or one morning a week, depending on how often you're doing it, create all the photos, create all the content, and then they'll put it in an app for, and then it'll just shoot it out. And you can't do it for story, but you can do it for your feed. So
I don't do that actually.
Okay. So you and I we're like making it in the moment.
Yeah. So I actually do it a different way. I'll definitely create my content ahead of time. When I do get a chance, I will create 2 or 3 posts, especially the that I post, and I'll save them on my Instagram. And then I'll just actually post it whenever I have a morning where I'm going to post it, or an afternoon or a night where I'm going to post it. I just have them already ready, captions ready, and all I have to do is input my hashtags, and I just post it and share it, and that's it. But honestly, the scheduler is pretty genius, because you can just insert it, put a time that you want it to go out on.
Sometimes it's just one more freaking app, and this is part of my hate for Instagram of I know you have the capability of doing it. Why are you making me use 6 different apps to make your platform really great? So 2 of the ones that I've definitely seen called out a lot are Later and Hootsuite, are really common apps that people will use for time management. So they're not spending 30 minutes, doing it me. You sound like you're doing it great, but if you wanted to even go to the next one, those are really awesome ones. So
like it.
Okay, so what's the next question?
Next question I got was, how important is target audience to grow your Instagram?
So important. No, what would you say?
What a great question. I think it's, like you said, Dr. Lauryn, I think it's everything, to be honest. And I think that the way I do it, if that's what the question is asking, is I definitely rely on the hashtags a lot to target the audience that I want. So my Instagram is mostly doctors, to be honest, students of chiropractic. I want to say 90% are doctors. So that's my audience. That's who I'm sharing with.
For your personal.
For my, so the chiropractic guru, yes, that is that's the foundation of my followers, to be honest. Yep. I do have other followers here and there, since I moved here, people in the fashion world and people who do a lot of diet stuff and nutrition and all that stuff, for sure. But I think that that's the bulk of my followers. But those hashtags are everything. And
so
I think it's
Dallas. Yeah. So then what do you do for the brick and mortar business? Are you using geographic hashtags or?
So geographic hashtags. I use specific hashtags to what I'm posting that day. And I also use general hashtags of chiropractic, health, wellness. That's the bulk of my hashtags.
So if we had somebody, so let's say we have someone who is in LA and they've got a brick and mortar and they're trying to stand out and they're trying to get for their brick and mortar, they're trying to get new patients. Mm-hmm. How would you recommend what kind of strategy would you recommend they use to be seen in that environment?
So that's a really great question. I would definitely hashtag locations. So wherever you're at in California, let's say, hashtag the area, the neighborhood, whatever it is that can get you on the map there. And then actually going into those specific hashtags and going in and liking photos of people in the area.
Oh yeah. So following those people and interacting with them.
Liking or commenting or just getting yourself out there, I think does wonders for me, at least. And you're getting yourself known in the area. And I think it's super difficult, because I actually did that for myself and for my personal page. My following was from Canada. And so when I when I moved to Dallas, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm a nobody, because I don't have anyone on my page that's from Dallas. So just starting to follow people in the area. I'll also whoever I follow, I'll go to their followers and see who I can follow from that. Mm-hmm. And so on and so on, and using those hashtags and going in and following people in the area. And yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I found too, so I should have prefaced this by, I live in a town of 8,000 people. If you have a business that has a Facebook page, you are like doing good at social media. So Instagram, I spend a ton of time on Instagram for the podcast, and personal, but for my business, for my brick and mortar, the reason that like I didn't want to talk about this too much is because we don't have a ton of followers. Most of our followers are other chiropractors from like when I was in a coaching group. And it's more of like, my husband calls it my vanity project, because like if we post something, nobody in Rice Lake is seeing it. It's not going to bring in new patients. It's just other chiropractors. So I don't spend a ton of time on the business Instagram. And by that, I probably spend still too much time. But because there's just not a lot of people around here that are actually on Instagram. But one of the things that I have found business to business to stand out is I will, like if I'm going to a coffee shop, let's say, and the coffee shop, let's say they have 2,000. Now this wouldn't happen in Rice Lake, but let's say you're in LA and you go to a coffee shop and they've got 2,000 followers on their Instagram. If you take the time to make an attractive Insta story, like, you know, like put something like, what would you want your customers to say about you, basically? So like put a lot of thought into like really selling up, like this is the greatest coffee shop, like type thing, make it attractive, take a cool photo and you tag them in it. There's a really good chance they are going to share, because Instagram makes it so easy to be like, share to my story. Now, if you take a photo of a cup of coffee and you're like, great coffee, I mean, especially if you're in LA, they probably have a lot more interesting things. They might not share that. But if you just take a sec to make a cool photo with like a really amazing compliment or review of them, there's a good chance that they're going to take your account and blast it over. Now, you're not going to get like 1,000 of those 2,000 people to like your page, but you'll start to be being seen at least. And you can do that. I mean, you can just go through, depending on your neighborhood, you can do that kind of left and right, like, you know, hopefully getting them to share that. But I like the interacting. So in the beginning though, how much time, like if you can kind of rewind back to like less than 100 followers, how much time do you spend interacting versus producing content?
At the beginning, I think I was spending a lot of time on content, mostly because I wasn't sure what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like you would have, if you were doing it over, you'd spend more time interacting, or?
I think so. I think from the get-go, I just thought that I didn't have enough pull, I guess, or enough. I just didn't have enough like stuff on my page for it to be attractive to people, especially when you're just starting and you only have like 2 photos up. It's kind of hard to, you know, bring people to the page, and there's no value there really just yet.
Valid point. Spend time getting at least, what do they say it is? It's the double swipe. So let me count really quick, because they say the average person. So let's go back to the coffee shop example. The average person, you post a thing of a coffee shop with a lot of followers, shares it on their story, and somebody goes, something chiropractic. That was the best thing I could come up with, something chiropractic. They come over to your page. What they're going to do is they're going to see what's called your grid, and they're going to do 2 swipes. So basically you need 9 times 2. Probably about 18 photos before you're going to look at least slightly established on Instagram. Like if you do have 2 or 3 photos, people might come over to your profile page, but they're not going to think that you actually are producing something of value because you have 2 photos. Like those could be the greatest photos ever, but they're going to go like, oh, they're new, they don't know what they're doing, or they don't post that often, but basically the value is not worth the follow. So you need to have kind of at least 18 photos that
I would have to agree with that, because just think about yourself going to a page. What's the first thing you do? And the first thing you do is, okay, you look at the bio, you look at their profile picture, and then you look at their content. Mm-hmm. So you literally have about 2 to 3 seconds to make an impact and to make someone click that follow button.
Yep.
So I think that has a lot of pull on the attraction and traction of people that are coming and actually interacting and following and all that stuff. So at the beginning, just to go back, that wasn't happening much. I was doing most of the following. Yep. I was going out and trying to create a following instead of gaining followers just from my content or whatever it was.
Now, once things get rolling, what percentage of time do you, if you had to guess, do you spend interacting versus producing content?
Currently, I think I interact more than produce content. I interact a lot. I would say that that's the number one thing that I get comments and just personal DMs about people. That's what they like about my page, is that I do a lot of shout outs and I interact a lot with my stories and polls and questions and tag a lot of people and just kind of like spreading the love and just being kind, really. I think that it goes a long way and goes far with the attraction of your page.
Yeah, we are not going in any kind of order, and that is so true to my style. But I just want to talk on, like, so with you interacting with your people, and you could do this whether you have 200 people who follow you or 2 million. Well, 2 million would be very difficult. You probably would hire someone at that point. But you could have 5,000 people who like your page, but if you have not trained them to interact with you, it means nothing. So you could spend, let's say a chiropractor spent, and this is super important for you to hear, like, please listen to this part. You could spend a year just hustling your ass off to get I don't know, insert any number that you think makes you a valid Instagrammer. 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000, whatever. And then you're like, okay, I did it. I made it to that number. Now I'm going to start reaping the benefits. And I'm going to put out, like, we've got a new patient special. New patient appointments, $20 this week. And you're going to hear crickets because you haven't, like, trained them, assuming that this whole time you haven't trained them how to interact. And that is one of the most, like, when I do all these, like, free Instagram, like, things and, like, tips and this, so, like, that's what all of the information is. I wanted to get through this entire episode without saying this word, but I'm not going to be able to. The algorithm, fucking algorithm. Tyler J. McCall is somebody that I follow, and he's like an Instagram, he's more than that, but he does a lot of Instagram coaching. And he's like, listen, people, the algorithm it's a computer. It does not hate you. Like, it's not sitting there choosing to work against you. And then he's like, also, it dropped in like 2016. Like, can we stop talking about the freaking algorithm? But anyway, so, like, what was I talking about? Oh, so, like, you were talking about hashtags. Used to be like, that was the way you got followers. And now this massive amount of people have gone from Facebook, and now, like, Instagram is so huge that hashtags just don't do what they used to do. So I do recommend brick and mortar. Absolutely always be using your hashtag of your city. Like, always, 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 or your neighborhood if you live in a town bigger than 8,000. Like North Side, Rice Lake, there's 600 people here. But then really it's about interaction. It's about interacting with other accounts and training your people that, like, send me a question and I'm going to be there to respond. Because if you are just there putting out quality content and they just, I don't know what they think, but they're not trained to, like, hey, this is really interesting on sciatica. Like, do you see pregnant people with sciatica? But if they don't even think that there's a person behind the account that's going to be like, absolutely, let me help you. It really doesn't turn into money. And that's what, I mean, that's the problem with, and my husband has to like check me sometimes, not with the podcast, but like with the business of like, are you doing this for followers or are you doing this to bring new patients in? And it's like, oh yes, that is right. Because you should have, there's kind of two objectives for a lot of people. Like they'll, right? Like, are you following me here? Where it's like, and what you do and how you curate and all of that, it might be slightly different, so you just got to make sure that if you're building your brick and mortar account, that like the bottom line is creating a relationship that you can say, I can help you. And they feel like, hey, I trust this account that I've been following. And I will, when I need a chiropractor, I will turn to them type of thing. Versus,
I think the biggest thing you said was trust.
mm-hmm.
If people don't trust you, then it's really hard to make a sale, for lack of a better term. It's really hard to bring people in, to get an influence, to have people want to do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that trust is a huge one. So the way I build trust on my page is like we were talking about, interaction, comment on other people's photos, respond to the comments that you get. That's one of the biggest things. So when I get comments on my photos, I try my hardest to respond as soon as they come in, because that just builds more traction on the photo. So really, really interacting, like really be involved and care enough to respond and just be there and be someone that they can trust, someone that they can go to for advice, information. I think that's super important.
Well, and, if you're like, okay, well, how do I build trust with somebody who isn't interacting with me? Because most of the time, I don't want you to think that like Instagram is full of all these people who are like, oh my gosh, I want to interact with you. No, you have to like force interaction basically. But kind of comes back to what you were saying of like, I'm predictable. Because if all of a sudden you post something, they've been following you for a little bit and you post something out of left field, now all of a sudden they don't feel like they know you. And like, it sounds like such a weird conversation, but this is the virtual world we live in, where it's like, they're like, wait, I thought you were a clinic that was like X, Y, or Z, but now you posted that. And now I'm very confused. And now I don't know if I can trust you. It's all these like subconscious layers that happen. So coming back to that, like be predictable, stay in your lane of what you say your bio is about.
I totally agree with that. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Okay. What's the next question that we can get off topic on? Did we do the previous one?
Oh, good at that.
We totally did.
Did we? I think we did. I think we did. It was about the target audience. So,
did we?
Well, whoever asked that, I am so sorry. But biggest thing, just to recap, target audience, use your hashtags and use all 32 of them. I believe there's 32. And trial and error. At the beginning, I wasn't getting anywhere with my hashtags. And then I had to kind of change them and see, okay, this photo got me more following, more likes, more profile visits, more, just more traction altogether. So it's all trial and error, and I'm constantly changing them up. I have my solid 25 that I keep, but depending on what I'm posting, I'll kind of alter those last few with whatever it is that I'm posting. So I think that hashtags are super important, and the way I research what to hashtag is basically you'll just go on Google and you'll type in most popular hashtags for chiropractic or most popular hashtags for health, wellness. And then it'll pull up like a list of 20 and then try those out. And that's the easiest way. Because some people are like, well, what do I even, what is it? I don't get it. But don't sleep on hashtags. Honestly, it's crazy the amount of traction I get just from the hashtags. So
that's fantastic. And for target audience, I feel like, let's talk about the content, because you could have the greatest hashtags, but back to, again, predictability of okay, So let's say you are going to post a photo of like your prenatal clinic, and you want to post a photo that speaks to like our clinic sees pregnant women. The content that you post, you need to go past your target market is not just like, I don't know, all pregnant women. Like in that content of that photo, I really recommend like be like, no, my target market is a woman who's currently pregnant with her second child, and she's tired and she's sore and she's working, and like it sounds like, but aren't I going to alienate a lot of people if I go that specific and write like to that person? No, because there's so much content out in the world that like if you are trying to be so broad, nobody, I don't know, I can't remember for the life of me what the quote is, but it's basically like if you're marketing to, I'm going to remember it right now. If you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. Look at me. So really dig down into like, you can't be like, well, I'm just starting out. My target market is everybody that lives in my town. It's like, no, because nobody, it's going to be white noise. And so and you can kind of move around a little bit, but like for this photo, who is your target market for this photo? Tell me details about her and speak to her. Like, because that's coming, we're just doing so good at like coming full circle, coming back to like the trust. So what's going to happen is, so let's say you write this post that's like, Mom, I see you. You are juggling all the things. You are making a baby inside of you and trying to keep the one that you had last year still alive. You're tight, whatever. So you create this thing and you're like, but what about the people? What about the women who aren't pregnant, or they're pregnant with their first one? They're just going to scroll past on this one. Like they may not completely resonate, but that's okay. But you are going to grab, by speaking so directly to this group, you're going to really grab them and their trust. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this chiropractor like wrote this for me. And it's like, you're going to definitely get the likes there. And then later you can be like, hey, first time mom, I know you're nervous about every little thing. Is this safe? Is this safe? And you're wondering, is chiropractic safe? So you can jump around in there, but like when you're creating the content for a photo, like write it to a very specific target market. Would you agree?
I totally agree with that. Sometimes I even scroll myself and I'm like, wow, this person literally took the words out of my mouth or the thoughts out of my head. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing when you can connect with a post. It just it kind of forces me to comment because I'm just so in tune with it and intact with it. So that's definitely so important.
Yeah. While we're talking about content, I do want to make sure we cover so what I'll do when I'm writing content is I won't get too stuck on my first sentence and what order things are going in. Basically, I'll type, I'll kind of move around so it flows. But then the very first sentence that you have needs to be it needs to catch people's attention because you need to stop the scroll. So I just saw Jasmine Star speak at a conference a month or two ago. And, that was one of the big things she said is people on Instagram, they're just scrolling. And so you have to do something that gets them to stop and go, oh, wait, what is she about to say? And so there was lots of different ways. I don't really like being told to stop my scroll though. So don't tell people stop scrolling. That I get very oddly defensive of don't tell me to stop scrolling. But it is something like, can I tell you a secret? Or can I admit something? Or you want to know something that shocks all of my patients? But I write that at the end. So I get the content, the meat of it, but then it's okay, what's the first sentence going to be? Because it's not going to be did you know that chiropractic care is safe for pregnant women? Really scroll on, got it type thing. You have to really make sure that first sentence, as far as content goes, is catchy.
Definitely agree with that. I think that's one of the things that has helped me the most is that first sentence. And sometimes I'll even make it a question. So it attracts people. Do you have back pain every morning? Or are you stiff every morning? Or, honestly, anything. It could be anything. And if it's specific to chiropractic, keep it specific to chiropractic and what people, and try and feel, especially when you're in practice, like the questions that you get, like on table talk, like the questions that you get, talking to patients, like what are those like questions that keep coming up? And I bet you anything that a lot of people are thinking the same thing. So just making sure that it's catchy for sure. Sometimes I'll even put it in bold because that'll even catch people's eyes. Just having it in bold. Sorry, I meant all caps.
I'm like, tell me more. I know you're using an app for that because Instagram would make you use an app if you were bolding.
Yep. Use an app to make it cursive and pretty and just attractive, and but I'll definitely capitalize. I'll capitalize on the capitalizing for sure, most of the time.
I like that. Capitalize on the capitalize. Okay. So before we wrap this up, I want to do a slight deep dive into the like dark side of Instagram. This may not resonate with a lot of people, and that's okay. Hope you got something of value. So Reese, this happened to me yesterday. I was warned that this was going to happen. I was told that the likes thing was going away. Now, what I was told in fairness is I was told I would be able to see how many pictures a likes got. Okay, this is where I'm showing my ugly. Okay, people, like for real, we're gonna get real vulnerable here. So I thought that like Instagram was changing things and like other people weren't gonna be able to see how many likes a photo gets. I was cool with that. I don't need other people to see. But all of a sudden, yesterday morning, I'm like, yep, okay, this picture's performing really well. That's great. It's at 100 likes. And then at 3:00, I went back in, likes gone. It just says so-and-so and others. And I'm like, it was funny because my husband was in the clinic getting adjusted by my associate at the time. And I'm like, oh, the likes are gone. And he's like, you know this is happening. And I'm like, I thought it would tell me how many likes. And he's like, well, you can count them if you want. I'm like, I'm not that crazy. I'm not going to do that. Because one of the techniques for like figuring out, so what I would used to say of like, if somebody's like, well, how do I know what my buckets are? Is I would say, if you've been posting for a while, look at your photos. I wonder if previous ones go away. Do you know that? Because I wonder if I can look back at like 3 months ago, if it'll tell me. But anyway, so, what I would say is like, well, look at your photos and see which ones get, you're going to have an average amount of likes. Let's say you get like 20 likes on normal photos. And this is all a moot point because Instagram changed everything. But I would say like, if then all of a sudden you post one photo and it gets like 50 likes, post more of that. That is what your audience wants to see. And now with this stupid algorithm or whatever they're changing, no. So, okay, just as we were talking, I went back and looked at like previous pictures. You can't even look at old photos. All the number of likes are gone. So did this rock your world at all? Or are you just like cooler than I am? And
well, I don't know if this is news to me. I still see my likes. So I don't know if because
so it says a number of likes.
Let me confirm.
Everything. Because like, yeah, all right, everyone, you are seeing the chiropractic guru's real-time reaction to this. So yeah, mine just says like the chiropractic guru and others. Do you still have your likes?
I have the likes.
It tells you number?
Yeah, I think it might be because I didn't update my phone.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You lose it. And I just didn't realize like, oh gosh. So, but we're going to reference Kim Kardashian, kind of the social media queen. It's hilarious that Kim Kardashian has 150 million followers and like Michelle Obama's got like 10. I don't know many Michelle Obama has, but I know it's not 150 million. So she was actually saying that like this is really good because social media has this like mental health component that really sucks. And I'm like, well, yes, but I'm sad about it. But yeah, don't. Okay, now I'm looking up Michelle Obama. Yep, 11.4 million. So yeah, so Kimmy K's got 150 and Michelle Obama, who's like out in the world doing things. But yeah, it's there is this like negative turn happening with the mental health aspect of Instagram. I don't know. Do you see it at all?
There really is. Honestly, I think that it's sad. It really is to me, because I know growing up as a little girl, like, we didn't have Instagram,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even a thought. I didn't even think about it or anything like that. But now I can see that those kids that actually have Instagram in high schools, the stuff that goes on between, especially females, and just saying, like, it's a competition. Like, oh, I got more likes than you got, and oh, this photo is prettier than this photo, and it's just
And think about it from the high school aspect. Well, then I will donate my likes. I will give up my likes, because you're right. That is totally, it is like, so it's like bullying. I didn't think about that part.
But business wise, I think that it's super beneficial.
Yeah, it is. It's like, because you know what your audience wants.
Right, right. And I think that, like you said, like, you want to post what people want to see. And if you don't know how many people are liking it, then how do you know what to post? But mental health side, I think that, yeah, like, younger kids that have Instagram and that are using it and comparing at school and just comments, and I mean, it's just another outlet for people to bully and for people just to be mean and, yeah, bring people down and all that stuff. So when it comes to that, I think that it's super sad, and I don't like it at all. But I can see why they remove the likes.
Yeah. So another Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, I think, you know, what's funny is my husband's actually the one who said, like, what do you think about Khloe Kardashian's, you didn't see it on Instagram. To defend him, it was like in his news feed. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he apparently, like, she a few weeks ago hit 150 or 100 million followers, and like immediately posted, unpopular opinion, I think social media has completely destroyed our generation's ability to be truly happy. We're always seeing someone else who we think has it better than us, and it causes us to think that what we have isn't good enough. Okay, first of all, pot calling kettle here, Khloe. But I do like that, you know, it is, I try and it's back to that, like, real versus fake. So, like, no, I didn't post a picture of me in the ER. But shoot, you know, I don't know what the answer is. Like, I try and do like little drips of real life. Like me putting in my extensions for our interview. But you know, it's be authentic. I guess that's what it comes down to, is like, and know that most of what you're seeing is not.
It's really not. Like, even sometimes I look at my Instagram and I'm like, wow, my life looks so nice and so good. But I mean, reality is it's not like that 100% of the time. It really isn't. It's just highlights of someone's life. So don't take what you see as what it is, because there's much more to it. And, you know, obviously, like you said, you're not going to post yourself in the ER, but or just like, I don't know, you having an argument with someone, or
Yeah.
right, you're just gonna post good things, and it's just like, okay, good after good after good, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's life looks so good and looks so nice, and why isn't my life like that? Well, just know that their life is not like that either. So I think at the end of the day, don't get too attached, and don't get, you know.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from this, like, mental health portion of the podcast is, when you get involved in Instagram, realize that, look at it as a game. It is a game. It is a tool for marketing. And if you think about it and keep yourself mentally distanced of, like, versus looking at it as a, like, photo album of all of your friends' lives, like, then you have to be very, very careful. But, like, yep, when we go back to, like, tag a coffee, get the coffee, you know, like, it is like, tag a coffee. So the coffee shop shares you. And then all of a sudden, these people in your neighborhood see that you're a chiropractor. Like, yeah, like, don't get too down the rabbit hole. Don't take it too freaking seriously. Have fun with it. Do something different, be authentic, and just, like, realize that, honestly, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg could blow the whole thing up in a well, he probably wouldn't blow it all up, but what would happen is like he's gonna create the next thing, and then all of a sudden you have to start, in whatever app he creates, you're gonna have to start at zero again. And so like you can't be putting too many eggs in this basket that it really freaking matters, because it doesn't.
I couldn't agree more with that. I think any day now, Instagram could be no longer existing. And say it again.
MySpace. Are you old enough to know what MySpace is?
Oh, I know MySpace. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't on MySpace. I will say I was young enough. I'm young enough that like I wasn't old enough to have a MySpace account before it like kind of went down the drain. But yeah, so someday there's just going to be another MySpace, and like.
Exactly. So just go with it and, just enjoy it while it's here, and don't put, like you said, all your eggs in one basket, because tomorrow could just be all gone. So.
Well, thank you so much. So tell people, again, tell them your handle and where they can follow your lovely Instagram account so they can interact with you.
Yes, so my Instagram, you can follow me at The Chiropractic Guru. And yeah, just shoot me a message. Let's talk. Let's interact. I actually love interacting with my followers, and just being kind and friendly, and just having chats. And so, yeah, you can reach me on there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca. We will have to find a time. I'm going to be down in Dallas in 2020, so we'll have to grab coffee. And we'll Instagram the shit out of that.
And we'll take a coffee shot.
All right, She Slayers, that was all we could cover in, we'll just call this part 1 of Instagram, because there is so many different topics that we didn't even get down. But hopefully, whether you are new to Instagram or a little seasoned, you got something from this. If you have a question that we did not answer, seriously, DM either of us. Go find us at She Slays or at The Chiropractic Guru. Both of us, like we said, love interacting with our people. Send us a direct message, and we would love to answer it. So until next week, She Slayers, bye.